The freezer door swings shut behind me with a pneumatic hiss, and the temperature drops so fast my breath catches in my throat. I'm not supposed to be in here. My manager Derek, that spineless bastard, shoved me in here after I told him I wouldn't cover for his theft from the register again. Cool off, he'd snarled, literally locking the walk-in freezer from the outside like this was some kind of joke. Like I was some kind of problem to be stored away. The irony is thick enough to choke on. I hug myself, my black server's vest offering nothing against the industrial cold of Roseland's kitchen. My fingers are already stinging. The restaurant, some upscale Italian place in downtown that caters to the city's elite, is closed tonight except for a private event in the back dining room. A group of men, all expensive suits and dead eyes, arrived an hour ago. Derek made sure I knew to stay away from them, made sure I knew my place. Now he's made sure I'm literally locked away. I bang on the door. Derek, come on, this isn't funny. Nothing. I bang harder, my palm flat against the cold metal. The door doesn't even rattle. These industrial freezers are built like vaults. Sound doesn't escape them easily. Neither do people. My heart starts to hammer in a way that feels less like anger and more like the first fingers of panic creeping up my spine. How long can someone survive in a walk-in freezer? Hypothermia sets in fast. I've heard stories. I try to remember the details and come up blank because my brain is suddenly very focused on the fact that I'm trapped in a metal box at 20 degrees. I bang again. Derek! Derek! The sound echoes off the metal shelves lined with frozen steaks and seafood. Nothing answers but the low mechanical hum of the cooling system. I'm pacing now, rubbing my arms, trying to keep moving, keep warm. How long has it been? 5 minutes. 10. My breath comes out in visible clouds. I can feel the cold seeping into my bones. That particular bone deep ache that makes thinking difficult. The anger that brought me in here, the righteous fury at being treated like garbage, at being scapegoated for Derek's embezzlement, starts to curdle into something sharper. Something that tastes like fear. I pull out my phone. No signal down here, underground in this restaurant's basement kitchen. Of course not. I could call for help. But to whom? To Derek, who locked me in here. To the cops and admit that I work for a manager who commits wage theft and psychological abuse. I'm still trying to figure out what to do when I hear it. A voice, male, loud and controlled, speaking from somewhere beyond the freezer door. Why is your employee locked in the walk-in, Derek? The question is asked with such quiet authority that it stops my pacing cold. There's no anger in the tone. That's what makes it terrifying. It's the voice of someone so accustomed to obedience that he doesn't need to raise his voice to get it. Derek's response is garbled, panicked. I press my ear against the door, straining. She was disrespectful, sir. I was just... Unlock the door. Not a request. Not even a demand, really. Just a statement of what's going to happen next, delivered with the kind of absolute certainty that only comes from a lifetime of being obeyed. I hear the sound of a key, the lock mechanism turning, and then the door swings open. The rush of warm air is so sudden and intense that I nearly stumble forward. I'm shaking from cold, from adrenaline, from the shock of being released. My eyes water as they adjust to the light of the kitchen. And then I see him. He's standing in the kitchen doorway, silhouetted against the soft glow of pendant lights. Tall, dark suit that probably costs more than I make in a month. Black hair, sharp features, eyes that are studying me with the kind of intense focus that makes my stomach flip in a way that has nothing to do with hypothermia. Behind him, Derek looks like a man who's just realized he's made a mistake he can't unmake. Are you alright? The man asks me. His voice in normal conversation is different from the tone he used on Derek. Softer, but no less commanding. There's a trace of an accent I can't quite place, something European, maybe Russian. I can't find my voice, I'm shaking too badly, and not just from the cold anymore. Get her something warm, he says to Derek, not looking away from me. Coffee, or tea. Now, Derek scrambles to obey, nearly tripping over himself in his haste to escape the man's presence. The man takes a step into the kitchen. He's even more intimidating up close. There's a kind of lethal grace in the way he moves, a coiled power that makes the air around him feel different, denser, more dangerous. What's your name? He asks. Vita, I whisper. It's my nickname at the restaurant, short for Vittoria, which my Italian grandmother insisted on despite my protests that it sounded too formal. I'm fine. Derek was just being. I don't care what Derek was being, he says flatly. I asked if you're alright. There's something in his eyes that makes me want to tell him the truth. That Derek locks me in freezers. That he steals from the register and makes me cover for him. That I'm terrified and furious and exhausted by the casual cruelty of trying to survive in this city. I'm okay, I say instead. Because admitting weakness to a man like this feels dangerous in a completely different way than being locked in a freezer. He studies me for a long moment. I can feel the weight of his gaze like a physical thing, cataloging every detail. My red-tinned fingers, my chattering teeth, the way I'm holding myself together through sheer stubborn will. You won't be working here anymore, he says finally. Excuse me. This restaurant, you're done. Tonight is your last shift. You can't just... I can. He interrupts quietly. And I am. Derek returns with a mug of coffee, hands shaking as he passes it to me. The man, who I still don't know, who seems to be someone important enough that Derek obeys him without question, watches as I wrap my frozen fingers around the ceramic. "What's your number?" The man asks. "My what?" "Your phone number, I need it." Every instinct screams that giving this man my number is a mistake. That whatever comes next will be dangerous. That accepting his help is accepting entry into a world I don't understand and can't control. But I'm still shaking from hypothermia and trauma and the lingering adrenaline of thinking I might die in a freezer. So I give it to him. He nods once, and without another word, he turns and walks away, disappearing back into the private dining room where his associates are waiting. Derek looks at me, pale and sweating. "You just made a terrible mistake." Maybe he's right. But as I sip the coffee with my frozen hands and try to stop shaking, all I can think about is the man's eyes. The absolute certainty in his voice. The way he'd said "I can." Like the rules that govern normal people simply didn't apply to him. I've just crossed paths with someone powerful, someone dangerous. And somehow I know my ordinary life has just ended. 3 days pass without contact. 3 days of me checking my phone obsessively, hating myself for checking it, convincing myself it doesn't matter, and then checking again. 3 days of working my final shift at Rosalind's. Derek avoids me like I'm contagious, and packing up my apron and my dignity in the same cardboard box. On the 4th day, the text comes. "Tomorrow 8 p.m, the Obsidian. Dress for dinner." There's no signature, but I know who it is. Of course I know. The number was stored in my phone the moment he left the restaurant, and I memorized it without meaning to. The way your brain catalogs threats. I stare at the text for an hour. Then 2 hours, I delete it. I restore it from my notification history because I can't quite let it go. The Obsidian is a nightclub, not the kind of place ordinary people like me go. It's in the warehouse district, exclusive, rumored to be owned by someone untouchable. I've heard rumors about it, the kind whispered by servers and bartenders who work the upper-tier restaurants in the city. A place where deals happen, where power consolidates, where rules don't apply. I know I shouldn't go, I go anyway. The dress I wear is red, a mistake. Probably wearing something so bold, so visible. But it's the only thing in my closet that feels like armor, something that says I'm here on purpose rather than I've been collected. My dark hair is down, falling in waves. I spent an hour curling. My makeup is careful enough to look intentional, not enough to look like I'm trying too hard. I'm trying too hard. The Obsidian sits behind black, tinted windows and a single red door with no signage. When I approach at 7:58 p.m., there's a man in a suit standing beside the door. He nods at me like he was expecting me, pulls the door open, and a wave of sound and darkness swallows me whole. The interior is all low lighting and exposed brick. The music throbs through the floor, through my chest, through my bones. The bar stretches the length of one wall, glass bottles catching fractured light. The dance floor is packed with beautiful people in expensive clothes, moving like they own the place or like they've been promised they can own it if they try hard enough. But I don't go to the dance floor. A hand touches the small of my back, and I know without turning who it is. The sensation of his presence is immediate and electric, like my body recognizes him before my mind catches up. "You came," he says into my ear, close enough that I can feel the warmth of him against my back. Close enough that the scent of him, something dark and expensive, like leather and smoke and power, floods my senses. I turn to face him. He's different here than he was in the restaurant kitchen. Still dangerous, still commanding, but there's something almost civilized about him in this context. He's changed into a black shirt, unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled up to expose strong forearms. The casualness of it somehow makes him more intimidating, like he doesn't need the armor of a suit to make it clear what he is. "I almost didn't," I say, which is only partially a lie. "But you did. It's not a question." His eyes, dark and tense, impossibly focused on me, move over my face like he's memorizing me. I'm Vasily. The name suits him. Russian, definitely. It hangs in the air between us like a threat or a promise. I can't decide which. Vita, I say, even though he already knows this. I know. He takes my hand and his touch is warm and certain. His palm is smooth except for a thin scar that runs across his knuckles, a scar that tells a story I'm not sure I want to know. "Come." I have a table. He doesn't ask if I want to come. He simply states it as fact and begins walking, my hand still in his, threading through the crowd like it will part for him. And it does. People step aside, eyes deferential or fearful depending on their relationship to him, I suspect. The VIP section is elevated, cordoned off, overlooking the dance floor like a throne room surveying its kingdom. His security sits at nearby tables, men with the kind of blank expressions that suggest they've seen things that would haunt ordinary people. They don't look at me. That, somehow, is worse. That means I'm not a threat. That means I'm not worth noting. Or that I'm property. The thought makes my skin crawl and my stomach flip simultaneously. "Sit," Vasily says, and there's that commanding tone again, the one that makes it clear he's not used to negotiation. I sit. A waiter appears instantly with champagne, the good kind, the kind that costs more than my monthly rent. Vasily orders something in Russian, something that makes the waiter nod and disappear. "You're wondering why I brought you here," Vasily says. It's not a question. The thought has crossed my mind. Derek was stealing from Rosalind. 10,000 a month. For 3 years. Vasily's voice is matter of fact conversational. He was also skimming from my accounts without understanding whose accounts they were. I processed this. You own the restaurant. I own many things. He takes a drink of his whiskey, ordered immediately, like the waiter anticipated his needs before he spoke. Derek will not own anything ever again. Not his freedom, not his future, not the use of both his hands. I haven't decided. The casual way he says this, like he's discussing the weather, is somehow worse than if he'd made threats. There's no anger in it, just inevitability. And me. I ask quietly. He turns those eyes on me, and the intensity of them nearly makes me stop breathing. You, he says, protected my money by refusing to participate in his theft. You chose integrity over survival. That's rare. So this is a reward. I lean forward slightly, testing him. A thank you dinner. Something flickers in his expression, amusement, maybe, or appreciation. This is a beginning, he corrects. You're gonna work for me now. Doing what? What you already know how to do. You're going to work in my restaurants, my clubs. But you're going to do it under my protection. He reaches across the table and runs his thumb across my knuckles, the gesture surprisingly gentle given the violence that lives in his hands. And in return, you're gonna tell me if anyone ever treats you the way Derek did again. And then you'll break their hands. I say flatly, their hands are the least of my concerns. He withdraws his touch, leans back. But yes, then I'll hurt them in ways that make their suffering lasting and creative. I should be horrified. I should stand up and leave, flag down a taxi, put distance between myself and this man who makes violence sound like casual conversation. Instead, I feel safe for the first time in my life. When do I start? I ask. He smiles, and it's devastatingly beautiful and absolutely terrifying. You already have, Vida. From the moment you gave me your number, you've been mine. The possessiveness of the statement should infuriate me. Instead, it makes me feel like I'm falling. 2 weeks into my new life, I still don't fully understand what's happening. I work for Vasily, that much is clear. What's less clear is what exactly I work as. I'm not a server anymore, though I sometimes help with events at his restaurants. I'm not security, obviously. I'm not staff in any traditional sense. Vasily has given me a position that seems to exist solely to keep me close enough to monitor and far enough away to maintain plausible deniability about what he actually does. It's brilliant, really. Infuriating but brilliant. Tonight, I'm in his penthouse for the first time. The elevator opens directly into his home, the 45th floor of a building that probably has 50 stories. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the city, and the lights of downtown spread out like a map of power. The interior is all clean lines and expensive minimalism. Modern art that costs more than my life on walls painted in shades of dove gray. A kitchen that looks like it was designed by someone who understands that beauty and function aren't mutually exclusive. And then there's him. Vasily stands at the window, silhouetted against the city lights. He's removed his suit jacket and rolled up his sleeves. I'm beginning to notice this is what he does when he's settling in, removing the layers of his armor piece by piece. Behind him, the city looks small. Drink. He asks without turning around. Water is fine. It's midnight, Vida. I'm offering you something stronger than water. Water. I repeat. He turns to face me, and the look he gives me is something between amusement and exasperation. You always choose the difficult path. It's my default setting. He moves to the kitchen with that fluid grace of his and pours water from a glass pitcher, adds ice, hands it to me. His fingers brush mine and I pull away too quickly. He notices everything. You're afraid of me, he observes. Should I be? Terrified. He confirms without hesitation. But that's not why you're afraid. He's right, and the accuracy of it is unsettling. I'm not afraid of him, not entirely. What I'm afraid of is myself, of how easily I've folded into his life, of how safe I feel in a space where violence is casual conversation, of how much I crave his attention the way an addict craves a drug. Why did you bring me here? I ask. Because I want you to see something. He gestures for me to follow him down a hallway lined with art. At the end is a door, and behind it is an office that feels more like a lair. Dark wood, soft lighting, walls lined with books that look actually read, not decorative. Behind the desk is a portrait, a young Vasily, maybe early 20s, standing next to a beautiful dark-haired woman and an older man with his eyes. My mother, he says, nodding to the woman. My father. This was taken before I was born. There's something in his voice that makes me step closer. What happened to them? The business happened to them. He doesn't look at the portrait. He looks at me. My father built an empire. It cost him everything. My mother spent her life waiting for him to choose her over the empire. He never did. She left when I was 12 and never looked back. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be aware. He moves closer, and I make myself stand still even though every instinct screams to retreat. This world I'm in, Vida, it consumes. It takes the people you care about and grinds them into nothing if you're not careful. Is that a warning? My voice is steadier than my heartbeat. It's a fact. He reaches out and tucks a strand of hair behind my ear, the gesture surprisingly tender for a man who talks about breaking hands like it's casual conversation. And I'm warning you anyway because I think you need to know what you're walking toward. I don't think I'm walking anywhere. I think I'm being carried. Something dark and satisfied flashes in his eyes. Yes, you are. He takes my glass and sets it aside. His hands settle on my hips, and for the first time since the restaurant kitchen, I feel the full weight of his attention focused entirely on me. It's a physical thing, like pressure, like gravity shifting. "Tell me to stop," he says softly. "It's not a request. It's a test." I don't tell him to stop. His hand moves up my spine along my neck and he tilts my chin up with his thumb. He's close enough that I can feel the heat of him. Smell that dark scent that's beginning to feel like home. His eyes move over my face like he's cataloging every detail, remembering me, claiming me. "Wita," he says, and my name sounds like a prayer in his mouth. Or a curse. "I'm gonna touch you now. If you want me to stop," I kiss him. It's not strategic or controlled. It's desperate and hungry and reckless. He makes a sound low in his throat, something between a growl and a moan, and suddenly I'm pressed against his body, his hands in my hair, his mouth demanding. The kiss is dangerous, all teeth and intensity, no gentleness. It tastes like whiskey and power and the intoxicating feeling of being wanted by something that could destroy you. When he pulls away, I'm breathless. We both are. "You understand what comes next, don't you?" His voice is rough, his eyes hooded. "Once I have you like this, truly have you, there's no going back. I don't share. I don't let go. You'll be mine in ways that terrify you." I should say no. I should walk away. I should remember that this man controls everything around us, that my autonomy dissolved the moment I handed him my phone number. "I know," I whisper. He picks me up, physically lifts me like I weigh nothing, and carries me through the penthouse, to his bedroom, where the city lights pour through the windows and the view is so high up it feels like we're floating above the world. He sets me down carefully, like I'm something precious and fragile, and the tenderness of the gesture is somehow more terrifying than anything that came before. "Last chance," he says. "Walk away from me now and I'll let you go." I know it's a lie. I know he won't let me go. And the terrifying truth is that I don't want him to. I wake in his bed at 5 a.m., and for exactly 3 seconds, I'm wrapped in contentment. His arm is across my waist, his breathing deep and even against my shoulder, and the world outside the windows is still dark and quiet. Then reality crashes in. I slip out of bed carefully, gathering my scattered clothes. The night comes back to me in fragments, his hands on my skin, his mouth at my neck, the feeling of surrender so complete it felt like drowning. We didn't go all the way. Somehow, he stopped us at the edge, pulling back with a restraint that seemed to cost him something. Punishment. He'd whispered against my collarbone. His breathing ragged. "For making me want to rush. I'm gonna take my time with you, Vita. I'm gonna make you beg." The promise had sent shivers through me that had nothing to do with the bedroom's cool temperature. Now, dressed and trying to smooth my wildly tangled hair, I hear his voice from the other room. On a phone call, speaking rapid Russian, his tone sharp and commanding. I freeze listening. Yesterday at the docks. 3 shipments intercepted. Marcello's people obviously testing boundaries. A pause. "No, I know, it's a message, fine. Send one back. The Castellano warehouse tonight. Let them watch it burn." I feel the blood drain from my face. Watching something burn. That's not metaphorical. That's a deliberate message written in fire and destruction. The call ends, and I force myself to look casual, moving back toward the bedroom. But Vasily is already standing in the doorway shirtless, watching me with those dark eyes that miss nothing. "You heard," he says. "I heard something. Not all of it, but enough." He steps toward me and I make myself stand still. Marcello Castellano runs the southern district. He's been encroaching on my territory. Testing to see if I'm soft, if I'm distracted. "But me," I say quietly. "But you," he confirms. There's no judgment in his voice, which is somehow worse. "That's a problem. Then I should go. No." The word is absolute. He cups my face in his hands, his thumbs stroking my cheekbones. "You're not the problem, Vita. You're the solution. Let them wonder what you are to me. Let them understand that I have something to lose, that I can be hurt. It makes them sloppy, makes them think they have an opening. And you'll burn their warehouse to prove them wrong." Less. I should be horrified. Part of me is horrified. But another part, the part that's been living on the edge of survival too long, understands the logic. In his world, weakness is an invitation to predators. The only currency that matters is the willingness to respond to violence with something worse. "How many people die?" I ask. "Few as possible. I'm not a barbarian." He sounds genuinely offended by the implication. "I'll give them warning. 2 hours to evacuate. But the message needs to be written in destruction. And Marcello will accept that. Marcello will understand that provoking me costs more than it's worth." He releases me and moves to the closet, pulling on a white dress shirt with the casual grace of someone used to being served. "You're gonna stay here today." That wasn't a question either. It wasn't. I want to argue. I want to assert some kind of autonomy, some reminder that I'm not his possession despite what he said last night. But I also recognize it for what it is, protection. If I'm visible, if I'm out in the city, then I become leverage. Staying in his penthouse, guarded by his security, is the only logical choice. "Fine," I say, hating how easily I surrender. "I'll stay." He leans down and kisses me, firm and quick, acclaiming more than an affection. "Good girl." The words make something twist inside me, something that feels dangerously close to satisfaction. The day stretches long and strange. I've never been idle before. My entire adult life has been about working, surviving, pushing forward. but in Vasily's penthouse, with security positioned outside the door and windows overlooking a city that's becoming my trap. I'm forced to exist without purpose. I explore his books. He has taste, philosophy mixed with crime fiction, Russian literature, military strategy. On his desk is a photo of him from a few years ago, standing with a blonde woman in an evening gown. She's beautiful in a traditional way, with perfect features and a perfect smile. My ex-fiancé, Vasily says from behind me. I didn't hear him return. Before you ask. I wasn't going to. You were. He sets down a plate of food, fresh fruit, cheese, bread. We were engaged for 2 years. She wanted the money and the status. She didn't want the reality of what I am. What are you? He takes my face in his hands again. He does this often, I'm noticing. Like touching me is something he needs. A man who burns warehouses. A man who breaks people who threaten what's mine. A man who's gonna kill anyone who touches you. That's not what I asked. It's what you need to understand. He releases me and turns away, looking out at the city. In 3 hours, the Castellano warehouse goes up. Marcello will lose 10 million in inventory. By tomorrow morning, the entire city will know that crossing me costs everything, and you'll just continue like you didn't burn a building full of nothing that matters. He finishes coldly. A building, cargo, a message. This is how the world works, Vita. We don't exist in the part of the city where morality is a luxury good. We exist in the shadows where only power and fear are currency. I should leave. This is the moment where I should walk to the elevator, press the button for the lobby, and disappear back into the world of ordinary people where buildings don't burn and men don't die over territory. Instead, I ask, will you be there when the warehouse burns? Yes. Then I want to see it. He turns back to face me, surprised. You want to watch? I want to understand. And it's true. Understanding his world, really understanding it, might be the only way to navigate it. I want to know what you actually are, instead of just being told. He studies me for a long moment, and then something shifts in his expression. Something that looks like respect or hunger, probably both. All right, he says quietly. Then you'll see. He takes my hand and I let him, knowing that whatever I'm about to witness will change something fundamental inside me. Knowing that I'm not walking back from this. Knowing that I don't want to. We ride to the docks in a black SUV with tinted windows, and I'm sandwiched between Vasily and 2 of his men, silent, professional, their eyes never quite meeting mine. The city blurs past, and I press my hand against the window like I can hold on to normalcy through the glass. Vasily sits with his phone in hand, making quiet calls in Russian. His voice is different on the phone, sharper, more cutting. These are orders to men who understand the cost of disobedience. I hear words I don't recognize, locations, contingencies. He's orchestrating something massive, and all I can do is sit beside him and feel the weight of the decisions he's making. Afraid. He asks quietly, not looking away from his phone. Terrified, I admit. Good. He finally looks at me. Fear keeps you alive. Never stop being afraid of me. It's not romantic. It's not the kind of thing someone says if they love you in any conventional sense. But there's something in the intensity of his gaze that feels more intimate than tenderness. He wants me aware, he wants me cognizant of what he is. The warehouse district smells like salt and rust and diesel fuel. The SUV slows as we approach a massive industrial building, concrete and corrugated metal. The kind of place that exists on the margins of the city where legal definitions get blurry. There are already trucks positioned strategically, men moving with military precision, security cameras being disabled by people who know exactly what they're doing. Vasily opens the door and extends his hand to me. Stay close, he says, and it's not a request. I take his hand and he pulls me out into the night. The warehouse looms ahead, and I can feel the weight of what's about to happen pressing down on me like a physical force. Third-person POV Vasily. Vasily scans the perimeter, assessing. The warehouse is confirmed empty. His men check twice. 27 containers of Marcello's inventory, counterfeit designer goods, stolen art, $500,000 in cash that Marcello thinks is safe in concrete walls. It won't be. Vita stands beside him, and even in the darkness, he can feel her. The pull of her has become almost painful. A constant awareness like a thrumming in his blood. This is dangerous. This level of distraction has cost men their lives throughout history. His father died because he was thinking about a woman when he should have been thinking about his empire. Vasily will not make that mistake. Bringing Vita here is a statement, to his men, to his enemies, to her. This is what I do. This is who I am. Either she accepts it or she becomes a liability. There's no middle ground. He gives the signal. First-person POV, Vita. The first explosion is smaller than I expect, a concussive boom from inside the warehouse that shakes the ground beneath my feet. I flinch and Vasily's arm tightens around my waist, keeping me pressed against him. Watch, he says softly. There's a second explosion, then a third. The building seems to inhale, and then flames erupt from the windows like the warehouse is breathing fire. Orange and red and gold light floods the dock, and I watch as something I intellectually knew about, violence, destruction, the consequences of crossing Vasily, becomes visceral and real. Smoke billows into the night sky, visible from half the city probably. The flames are so hot I can feel the heat from where I'm standing, even with distance between us. The building groans like it's dying. Steel beams buckling, the corrugated metal walls buckling inward. 30 million in inventory. Vasily says conversationally like we're discussing the weather. Enough to cripple Marcelo's operations for months. Enough to make him think twice before testing me again. I should be horrified. I am horrified. But I'm also fascinated by the sheer competence of it. There's no panic, no chaos. His men move with purpose, securing perimeters, monitoring police scanners, documenting everything with cold professionalism. This isn't random violence. It's orchestrated consequence. How much longer? I ask. 10 minutes. Then we leave before the fire department arrives. He turns to look at me, and the light from the flames makes his eyes look demonic. Still afraid. Yes, I whisper. Good. He takes my chin in his hand and kisses me. Right here on the dock with his empire burning in the background. The kiss is possessive and dark, tasting like smoke and power and the intoxicating knowledge that this man would burn the world if I asked him to. When he pulls away, I'm trembling. You understand now, he says. It's not a question. Understand what? What you're bound to. His thumb traces my jawline. You've seen it. The fire, the destruction, the men who follow me without question. You know what I'm capable of. So when you think about leaving, when you think about running back to the normal world, you'll remember this moment. You'll remember that the price of safety in my world is accepting the violence I use to maintain it. Is there an exit? I ask. His eyes harden. For you. No, you made that choice the moment you gave me your number. The warehouse collapses inward with a sound like the earth splitting open. Embers rise into the sky like malevolent stars. And I realize with absolute clarity that I'm no longer afraid, I'm committed. Whether that makes me brave or damaged, I can't quite decide. 3 weeks after the warehouse, Vasily brings me to his office in a downtown high-rise. The space is all power, black marble, art that costs more than lives. A view of the city that makes you feel like you could reach out and touch the clouds. We're not alone. There's a woman sitting in one of the leather chairs, blonde, elegant, with the kind of bone structure that suggests old money and older power. She's watching me with an expression I can't quite read, but there's definitely judgment in it. This is Elena Volkov. Vasily says, and his tone makes it clear she's important. She manages the legitimate side of my business. The restaurants, the clubs, the hotels. It's nice to meet you. Elena says, standing and extending her hand. Her accent is Russian but refined, softened by probably a decade of living in American cities. I shake her hand, and she grips just slightly too tight. A power play, a reminder that she can hurt me if she chooses to. Vita is going to be integrated into the organization, Vasily says. She'll need access to the secure system. Elena's eyebrow raises fractionally. Interesting. Usually you keep your personal attachments separate from business. Vita is not my personal attachment. There's something dangerous in how he says this. She's an asset. The word lands like a stone. Asset. Possession. Something with utility rather than intrinsic value. I should feel diminished. Instead, I feel strategic. What does that mean? I ask. It means you'll be useful, Elena says, and there's amusement in her voice now. You'll represent the business in ways that Vasily's other assets cannot. You're sympathetic. Non-threatening. You have a quality that people trust. You want me to spy on people. We want you to gather information. Elena corrects smoothly. Which is the same thing with a better connotation. Over the next week I'm trained. Elena introduces me to the structure of Vasily's empire, legitimate and otherwise. The restaurants and clubs are fronts, yes, but they're also genuine businesses generating real wealth. Money laundering, Elena explains, is about creating legitimate income streams that obscure illegal ones. The restaurants turn dirty money clean through payroll, inventory and cash transactions that can't be easily tracked. It's sophisticated. It's efficient. It's utterly criminal. And somehow I don't care anymore. On the 7th day, Elena takes me to lunch and says something that changes everything. Vasily cares about you, she says conversationally, sipping wine that costs more than my car. Which is a problem. How is that a problem? Because the last woman he cared about tried to steal from him. Elena sets down her glass carefully. She was beautiful, he was infatuated. He gave her access to his accounts because he thought she was trustworthy. She took 7 million and disappeared. I processed this. What happened to her? Her body was found in the Potomac 6 months later, weighted down with concrete. If the rumors are accurate, Elena leans forward. What I'm trying to tell you, Vita, is that Vasily's mercy has a breaking point. Cross him, and it doesn't matter how much he loves you. It doesn't matter how beautiful your face is or how perfectly you fit against his body. You become a problem to be solved. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Elena studies me over the rim of her wine glass. And I'm telling you that if you're smart, you'll figure out what his love actually costs before you're in too deep to escape. But I'm already too deep to escape. That night, Vasily wants me, not tenderly. He takes me against the window of his penthouse, 5 stories up where the city can almost see us but not quite. His hands are rough, his breathing harsh, and when he finishes, he holds me like he's afraid I'm going to disappear. Stay with me, he whispers against my hair. I'm already here? Forever. Stay with me forever. I should say yes. The word is right there on my tongue, shaped and ready to deploy. But something Elena said is gnawing at me, and I hear myself ask instead, tell me about the woman. The one who stole from you. He goes absolutely still. Elena told you. She warned me. He pulls away, putting distance between us. In the window's reflection, I can see his face, closed, angry, vulnerable in a way that makes my chest hurt. Her name was Katia, he says quietly. I met her 4 years ago. She was a cocktail waitress at one of my clubs. I thought she was different. I thought. He trails off, turning to look at me. I thought she loved me. Did you love her? I thought I did. I was willing to give her everything. My name, my protection, my wealth. All she had to do was not betray me. He moves to the window and looks out at the city like it's personally wronged him. She took the money during the night. Just disappeared. No note, no explanation. Just gone. And you found her? My people found her. She was in Prague trying to live off the money, using her real name like she thought I wouldn't look. He turns back to face me and his expression is cold. I killed her myself. The confession lands between us like a bomb. I know intellectually that Vasily is capable of killing. I've seen him orchestrate destruction, but hearing him confess to it, to taking a life because of betrayal and heartbreak, makes it real in a way that the warehouse fire never quite did. Did you love me? He asks, and it's not what I expect. When you killed her, I was angry. I was hurt. I was trying to demonstrate that betrayal has consequences. He steps closer to me, naked and threatening and somehow achingly sad. I don't want to be that man again, Vita. I don't want to be someone who destroys what he loves because it disappoints him. Then don't be. It's not that simple. This world, he gestures to the city outside. This life makes it impossible to not be that man. I take his hand, press it against my chest where my heart is racing. Then we'll be that man together. But you won't do it alone. He kisses me like he's drowning, and I kiss him back like I'm saving him. Neither of us notices that I never actually answered his question about loving him. 2 months in, I finally understand the depth of what I've agreed to. I'm not just in Vasily's world. I'm embedded in it. My fingerprints are on documents he needs. My voice is on recordings that could destroy him. My presence confirms his participation in crimes that would get him 20 life sentences. I'm his insurance policy and his liability all at once. Elena uses me to charm information out of competitors. A smile, a whispered confidence, the careful performance of being interested in a man's business concerns. I'm good at it, unnervingly good, like some part of me has always been designed to be this specific weapon. One of those men is Marco Castellano. He's Marcello's nephew, trying to rebuild what Vasily burned. He's handsome in a careless way, with expensive tastes and the kind of desperation that comes from trying to prove yourself to family that doesn't quite believe in you. Elena sends me to a charity gala with instructions to get close to him. Find out what his uncle is planning next. Find out if there's going to be retaliation. I do it. I'm charming in flirtatiousness and brilliant at making him feel like I'm genuinely interested in him. We talk for hours about his dreams to expand the family business into technology, about his frustration with his uncle's old school methods, about his fear that he's not good enough to matter. He's vulnerable in a way that reminds me of someone. In a moment of weakness or strategy, I can no longer tell the difference. He tells me something important. Something that could reshape Vasily's entire strategic landscape. Something that could get people killed. I report it to Vasily exactly as Elena taught me, and I don't feel guilty. That's the part that terrifies me. The night of the gala, Vasily is waiting for me in his penthouse. He's been drinking rare for him, and his eyes are dark with something I can't name. You did well with Castellano, he says. I was following orders. I know. He stands and moves toward me, and I make myself hold still. You're becoming very useful. You're learning how to move through the world without leaving fingerprints. How to manipulate people without them understanding they're being manipulated. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. He cups my face, his thumb stroking my cheekbone. You're becoming someone I barely recognize. Someone stronger. Someone harder. No. He kisses my forehead. It's perfect. But there's something in his voice that feels like goodbye. The next morning, I find out why. Vasily's security brings me to his office. It's unusual. Normally he comes to me or we meet somewhere neutral. But this feels official. This feels like a reckoning. I walk in to find not just Vasily, but Elena and 2 men I recognize as his most trusted lieutenants. There's also a laptop open on his desk, and my chest seizes when I see what's on the screen. It's a video of me with Marco Castellano, but it's not the charity gala. It's from 3 days ago. It's in a hotel room, and the version of me on the screen is kissing Marco like I'm trying to consume him whole. My hands are in his hair, his hands are under my dress, and it's absolutely unmistakably real. I don't remember this. But the evidence is right there, and I feel the blood drain from my face because I know how this looks. I know how betrayal looks when it's filmed in high definition. When were you going to tell me? Vasily's voice is quiet. Dangerously quiet. I can't finish the sentence because it's a lie and we both know it. I did this. I know I did this, even though there's a gap in my memory that feels massive and wrong. Elena. Vasily doesn't take his eyes off me. She's been meeting with Castellano for 2 weeks. Elena says conversationally, passing information, building intelligence for his family. Vasily, I think she's been working with them the whole time. Everything tilts. That's not. I start. but Vasily holds up his hand. Quiet. The command is absolute. I shut up immediately. I gave you everything, he says, and he sounds tired now, not angry, which is somehow worse. Anger I can fight, exhaustion I can't. I gave you protection, wealth, power. I loved you and you played me. Vasily, you sat in my bed and told me you loved me. You whispered promises about forever. And the entire time you were working against me. He finally looks away from me, stares at something beyond the room. I trusted you, Vita. Do you understand what that cost me? I didn't. You did. The evidence is right here. He gestures to the laptop. There's no ambiguity. There's no innocent explanation. You betrayed me. I want to argue. I want to scream that this isn't right, that something is wrong with my memory, that this doesn't make sense. But I'm looking at the evidence and it's undeniable. I'm looking at Vasily's face, and he's already moved past anger into something colder, something deader. What happens now? I ask quietly. Now. He finally meets my eyes again, and his expression is the most frightening thing I've ever seen. Not rage, resolution. No, you experience what it costs to betray me. Alina stands and her hand rests on the back of a chair. The two lieutenants shift slightly, waiting for instruction. I realize with absolute clarity that I'm about to die. And I understand, finally, too late, why his last woman ended up in the Potomac. Please. I start. You want to beg. There's almost amusement in his voice. That's interesting. You didn't seem to have a problem with betrayal when you were fucking him 3 days ago. The words land like bullets. Vasily, I swear I don't. Take her to the safe house, he says to his men, and his voice is steady, like he's giving a normal order. Keep her alive, she might be useful. For what? I ask. For leverage. Elena answers when Vasily doesn't. Castellano's already worried about you. When his family realizes you've disappeared, they'll think we took you. They'll worry about what you might tell us. They'll make mistakes. And that's when I understand. This was a setup. All of this was a test. Or a trap. And I fell straight into it. The last thing I see before they cover my head is Vasily's face, closed off, cold, absolutely unreachable. The man I fell in love with is gone. And I'm about to pay the price for choosing the wrong side. The safe house is a basement in a part of the city where people disappear. Concrete walls, one window that's been bricked over, a single door with a lock on the outside. There's a cot with clean sheets, a bathroom with running water, and enough food and water to keep me alive indefinitely. It's not a cell. It's a cage. They don't hurt me. That's almost worse than if they did. There's no violence, no interrogation, just a kind of patient isolation that makes it clear I'm valuable only as long as I'm breathing and unconsummated. Days blur together. I try to piece together what happened, how I ended up in a hotel room with Marco, how I betrayed Vasily, why my memory has holes the size of universes in them. And then, on the 4th day of captivity, the door opens and Vasily walks in. He's changed. Or maybe I've just finally seen what was always underneath. The kind of coldness that requires genuine pathology to maintain. He sits in the single chair across from me like he's visiting an animal in the zoo. You've been thinking about your mistakes. He says it's not a question. I don't understand what happened. Don't you? He pulls out his phone and shows me more photos. Ones I don't remember, from dates I can't account for, with timestamps that prove I was places I swear I've never been. You've been working with Castellano the entire time I've known you. You were sent to spy on me, to seduce me, to extract information. That's not true. Isn't it? He stands and moves closer. Why would I lie about this, Vita? Why would I go to all this trouble to fabricate evidence when I could just kill you and be done with it? He's right. The logic is irrefutable. But my memory insists there's something else, something broken in the narrative he's presenting. What are you going to do with me? I ask. I don't know yet. He sits beside me on the cot, and the proximity is almost unbearable. I want to be angry. I want to hurt you the way you hurt me, but mostly I just feel tired. He reaches out and touches my face with surprising tenderness, his thumb tracing my cheekbone. The gesture is so familiar it makes my throat tight. I meant it when I said I loved you, he whispers. That part wasn't strategic. That part was real. Then let me go? I can't. He stands abruptly, putting distance between us. If I let you go, it sends a message that betrayal doesn't have consequences. Everyone in my organization would question my leadership. The Castellano family would think they've won. I'd be vulnerable. So you'll keep me locked down here until what? Until you decide to finally kill me. Until you prove yourself to me again. He moves to the door. You have time, Vita. Months if you want them. In that time, you can decide if you want to die in this basement or if you want a chance at something else. What could I possibly offer you? He turns back, and there's something predatory in his expression. The truth. Real information. Loyalty that's been tested in this basement and comes out unbreakable. And if I refuse, then you die. He says it without inflection, like he's discussing the weather. Either way, your usefulness determines your fate. He leaves me with that. Third-person POV. Vasily sits in his office 35 floors above the basement where he's keeping Vita, and he pours another drink with the precision of a man who's been practicing controlled self-destruction for a long time. She's lying. He knows she's lying. But the evidence Alina prepared is so perfect, so seamlessly integrated, that even his own instincts are starting to question themselves. He wanted her broken. He wanted her afraid. He wanted her to understand the cost of betrayal so intimately that she'd never consider it again. What he didn't expect was how much it would hurt. The video of her with Castellano plays on repeat in his mind. He can't stop watching it, can't stop analyzing every touch, every kiss, looking for signs of genuine passion versus performance. The uncertainty is slowly driving him insane. Elena knocks and enters without waiting for permission. She's been with him long enough to understand that he doesn't always have the bandwidth for social niceties. She's stabilizing. Elena reports. Psychologically, she's moving through the shock into acceptance. Another week and she'll either attempt to escape or commit to survival. Has she tried to escape? No, that's interesting, isn't it? Most people would try to run within 72 hours. She's just waiting. Vasily considers this. Pull the security feeds from the hotel. I want every angle from the night she supposedly met Castellano. I want to see her face. Vasily. Do it. Elena leaves and Vasily pours another drink. The thing about building an empire is that you eventually have to accept that everyone in it is a tool or a threat. There's no middle ground. No one is innocent. No one is trustworthy. The thought is comforting and devastating in equal measure. First person POV Vita. On the 7th day of captivity, I have a visitor. It's not Vasily. It's an older man, maybe 60, with kind eyes and scars on his hands that suggest a life of violence carefully concealed behind a veneer of civility. He introduces himself as Ivan, Vasily's uncle. You're wondering why I'm here, he says, sitting in the chair Vasily occupied. I'm here because Vasily asked me to determine if you're lying. He settles back, regarding me with an expression that suggests he's seen every variation of human deception. And you are lying. Just not the way Vasily thinks. My heart rate spikes. What? Vasily is intelligent, but he's emotionally compromised. He wanted to believe the worst of you because it was easier than accepting that he loves someone he can't fully control. Ivan pulls out a tablet and shows me something. This is the real security footage from that hotel. Look, I look, and I see a woman who looks like me, same face, same body, same hair, kissing Marco Castellano. But the image is digital. It's artificial. It's a fabrication so good it's almost indistinguishable from reality. But once you know what to look for, you can see the digital signatures. Elena created it. Ivan says quietly. She's been working with Castellano the entire time. She's been using you as bait to drive a wedge between you and Vasily. The goal was to isolate him, make him unstable, leave him vulnerable to a coordinated attack. I'm struggling to process this. Why are you telling me this? Because Vasily won't listen to me. He's too hurt, too angry, too convinced that you're guilty. Ivan stands. But I'm his blood. And I won't watch him destroy himself over a lie. So I'm telling you, you have one chance to prove your innocence before I'm forced to eliminate you as a threat to his stability. How do I prove something that's been fabricated at this level? You don't. He moves to the door. You remember something that Elena didn't plan for. You tell Vasily something about that night that no fabricated video can contradict. Something true. He leaves me with my fractured memory and the crushing weight of hope. Because maybe, just maybe, the man I fell in love with isn't completely gone. Maybe he's just hidden under layers of betrayal and fear. I'm lying on the cot when Vasily comes to me again. I don't know how many days have passed. Time moves differently in the basement, without light or measurement. But his face looks worn, like he's been fighting something in the darkness too. I need to tell you something, I say before he can speak. About the night you think I betrayed you. He doesn't sit. He just stands there waiting. I don't remember all of it. I start carefully. My memory has gaps, but I remember something that wouldn't be in a fabricated video. I remember that when I was with Marco, I was thinking about you. That's not helpful. Wait. I sit up, moving closer. I was thinking about you because I felt guilty. Not guilty about betrayal. Guilty because some part of me was drawn to him, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized it was because he reminded me of you. The power he was trying to project, the desperation underneath it. Vasily's jaw tightens. I kissed him because I was testing something. I continue. Testing whether what I felt for you was real or whether I'd just been conditioned to respond to dominance and danger. And the answer was immediate. Kissing him felt like eating cardboard. Kissing him meant absolutely nothing because my entire body was oriented toward you. Vita. Your uncle came to see me. I interrupt. He showed me the video. He showed me the digital signatures that prove it's been fabricated. Elena has been working with Castellano. I don't know all the details, but the evidence against me isn't real. Vasily goes absolutely still. I watch the moment the truth of it hits him. I watch the moment he understands what he's done, how completely he's been manipulated, how perfectly someone played on his insecurities and his love for me. Where is she? His voice is quiet and cold in a way that suggests Elena has just signed her own death warrant. I don't know. That's not why I'm telling you. Why are you telling me? Because I need you to understand that I didn't choose Castellano. I chose you. Even when you locked me in this basement. Even when you looked at me like I was something you needed to destroy. I chose you. He moves toward me, and I expect violence. I'm braced for it, ready for the moment his fury breaks past the thin control he's maintaining. Instead, he pulls me against him and holds me like he's afraid I'm going to disappear. I'm sorry. He whispers against my hair. God, Vita, I'm so sorry. His hands are shaking. The invulnerable man who orchestrates destruction from a distance is falling apart in the basement with me, and it's the most honest moment we've had since the beginning. Get me out of here, I say. He pulls away just enough to look at me, his eyes red-rimmed and devastated. I will. I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna kill Alina for what she's done, and I'm gonna spend the rest of my life making sure nothing like this ever happens to you again. That's not really possible. I know. He kisses me, and it's desperate and tender and absolutely consuming. But I'm gonna try. They bring me out of the basement that night. Vasily has people, so many people, who mobilize instantly. Alina is found trying to board a private plane. The security footage of her coordinating with Castellano is extensive and irrefutable. The money trail that connects her to the fabricated video is forensically perfect. She's finished. But first, Vasily brings her to his penthouse. Not to the comfortable living space where we made love against windows overlooking the city, to a different part of the building that I've never seen. A space that exists for moments exactly like this. He doesn't ask me to watch. He simply tells me what he's done afterward, matter of fact, like he's reporting on business. She's alive, he says. But she won't be walking, won't be using her hands, won't be able to do anything except exist in the space between death and life. That's a more fitting punishment than killing her quickly. I should be horrified. I should object, moralize, remind him that she's human and deserves mercy. Instead, I ask, is it over? With Alina? Yes. He pulls me close. With Castellano? No, he's gonna learn what it costs to think he can touch what's mine. And me, I ask quietly, what happens to me now? Now you stay. His hands move down to my waist, pulling me impossibly closer. You stay with me. You sleep in my bed. You exist in my world not as a spire, an asset, or a test. You exist as someone I love. Complicated as that is, as dangerous as that makes me, that's what I choose. Even though I could betray you again. Even though. He tilts my chin up and looks into my eyes. Because the alternative is living without you, and I've spent the last week learning that I'm not capable of that. I'm not strong enough to survive that. He kisses me on his penthouse balcony, the city spread out below us like a conquered kingdom, and for the first time I'm not afraid. Or maybe I'm just afraid in a way I can finally live with. Third-person POV Vasily, the war with Castellano comes fast and brutal. It starts 3 days after Alina's interrogation. Vasily's warehouse in the North District goes up in flames, not a warning like with the earlier fires but a declaration. 2 of his people die in the explosion, unmarked, unidentified, just bodies sent as a message, this is just beginning. Vasily reads the message clearly. He's in the penthouse with Vita when the call comes through. She's curled against him on the couch, her head on his chest, reading one of the crime novels she's become addicted to. The domesticity of it would be beautiful if the world around them wasn't actively burning. He takes the call, listens to the reports, and feels something crystallize in him. Not rage. Rage is too scattered, too unfocused. What he feels is focus, purpose, the singular clarity of knowing exactly what needs to happen next. What is it? Lita asks, already understanding from his expression that the moment of peace is over. Castellano's making a move. He's trying to wound me before I can wound him back. She sits up, her expression shifting into something harder. What are you going to do? Everything. He stands, pulling her up with him. I'm going to destroy his family so completely that his name becomes a synonym for failure. That will start a war. I know. People will die. Yes. He moves to the window, looking out at the city. This is the part of my world you need to see, Vita. Not the part where I make love to you or tell you you're beautiful. This part. The part where I win by making sure my enemies lose everything. First-person POV Vita. I spend the next 72 hours in a safe house that's not a basement. It's actually almost comfortable. A penthouse in a building Vasily owns, protected by an entire security team, isolated from the chaos unfolding across the city. But I have access to the news. I watch as Vasily systematically dismantles the Castellano operation. Not through direct violence at first, through finance. He's had people embedded in their accounts for months, apparently, just waiting for this moment. Lines of credit are pulled. Assets are liquidated at a loss. Within 48 hours, the Castellano family is hemorrhaging money. Then comes the physical response. I watch news reports of raids on their properties, of arrests of their associates, of bodies discovered in strategic locations, each one a message, each one calibrated to demonstrate power and control. Marcello Castellano calls a press conference and declares all-out war. By that point, Vasily has already anticipated the move. His response is swift and surgical. Not just the warehouse districts anymore, but the entire city becomes a battleground. Restaurants burn, cars explode. People disappear. It's chaos painted with purpose. On the third night, Vasily comes to me. He's covered in other people's blood, not his own. I can tell by how he moves, no pain in his bearing. His hands are shaking, though not from fear or adrenaline, but from something deeper. Something like the realization of how far he's willing to go. It's over, he says without preamble. Castellano's dead. His family scattered. The territory is secured. How many people did you kill? Directly, 17. Indirectly, probably more. He sits down like his legs won't support him anymore. 2 of them were children. I don't know what to say to that. They were collateral. He continues quietly. There was a bomb meant for Marcello. The children happened to be in the building with their mother. His wife. He looks at me with eyes that are empty. I knew they were there. I proceeded anyway. The confession is delivered like a test. Like he needs to know if I'll stay or run now that he's admitted to a line he can't uncross. I think you should probably tell me something. I say carefully. Something true about yourself. I just did. No. I mean something about your entire life. Something that explains how you became capable of killing children and continuing to function. He's quiet for a long moment. Then he begins to talk. He tells me about his childhood, about a father who chose the business over his family, about a mother who chose escape over survival, about a young man who learned that love was weakness and power was the only thing that mattered. He tells me about Katia, the fiancée he killed, how he'd actually watched her leave before deciding to track her down, how he'd killed her not because she'd stolen from him, because she'd proved that even his love couldn't keep someone trapped in his world. He tells me about Alina, about how he'd actually known she was a traitor months ago, but had wanted to see how far I would go, if I would choose him or the allure of freedom. And most importantly, he tells me that he loves me despite all of this. Or maybe because of it, because I'm the only person who's ever looked at what he actually is and decided to stay anyway. Why are you telling me this? I ask. Because you need to understand what you're choosing. He reaches for my hand. You can leave. Right now, I'll give you money, protection, a new identity. You can disappear and have a normal life. But if you stay, you're choosing this. All of this. The blood, the chaos, the way I'll never be fully human again. I think about the girl I was before I met him. The girl who was locked in a freezer by her manager. The girl who was trapped by her own survival instincts and small thinking. I think about who I've become, harder, sharper, capable of things the old Vita would have found unimaginable. I'm staying. I say, even knowing what I've done. Even knowing what we've both done. I move closer. Because love isn't about being perfect or choosing the right person. Love is about choosing to stay in the darkness with someone and deciding it doesn't matter that you can't see. It's about accepting that the only light in a dark enough world is another person's heartbeat. He pulls me against him, and we're both trembling. Outside the windows, the city burns. Inside there's just us, the mafia boss and the girl from the restaurant, bound by violence and blood and the kind of love that survives impossible things. Epilogue. 1 year later, Vasily's legitimate business thrives. The restaurants, the hotels, they're profitable and pristine. To anyone looking from the outside, he's simply a successful businessman with good taste and excellent security. No one looks closer than that. I'm not a spy anymore. I'm not an asset either, though I suppose I've become something more complicated. A partner who understands the weight of what it costs to maintain an empire. We got married quietly, in a private ceremony with only Ivan and Elena, his cousin, not the traitor, in attendance. No rings, no vows spoken in a church. Just an exchange of understanding that we belong to each other in ways that don't require legal documentation. The penthouse is home now. Our bed overlooks the city, and some nights I wake up thinking about the moment he locked me in that freezer. About how close I came to dying in that cold. Other nights I wake up thinking about Alina, about the fact that she's still alive somewhere, slowly dying in her isolated space. About the morality of that. About the fact that I don't actually care anymore if what we did was right. What are you thinking? Vasily asks, his hand on my waist, his body pressed against my back, about how twisted we are. He laughs, a real laugh, not the controlled sound of his public self. Completely twisted. Do you regret it, any of it? No. He pulls me closer. Do you? I think about the girl in the freezer. I think about the woman in the penthouse. No. I say, and I mean it. The city lights reflect off the windows like 1,000 burning stars. Below us, the world continues its small violences and ordinary betrayals. But up here, in this space that exists outside of normal rules, there's just us. A mafia boss and a waitress who learned to love in the dark. Forever bound. Forever dangerous. Forever irreversibly changed. The freezer door shut behind me a lifetime ago, and I've never been more grateful to be locked in.